Wellness Podcast. Your hosts, me, Amanda Kingsley, and Terra Missildine, are here to team up and take you on a journey where freedom is cultivated through personal development, where women connect to fuel their futures, and where wealth is created as a byproduct of being well. Yay. And you may have noticed that Amanda's doing the intro. What a special day for everyone. Maybe I'll take over from now on, Terra. It's kind of fun.
It's fine with me.
So I jumped into this intro because I have a very special guest expert, guest entrepreneur, guest mama, guest friend. We're going to do a little Terra Missildine interview today. So, you ready, Terra? You ready to tell our listeners what we're all about?
I was born ready to talk about myself.
Good.
Yes.
Well, first, let's just share our gratitudes of the day, and then we'll jump over to our Terra interview.
Okay, cool. I have my gratitude ready. Yeah. So it's the same thing that we kind of chatted about just a little bit before we started recording, and that is I am grateful that I have had some space and stamina in my life to support people around me in the last couple of weeks. Yeah. So there's been a lot of crises around me that I've hopefully been able to add some peace and resource to because my life was quiet enough for once. And I'm so grateful, universe, that you gave me that ability. So that's my gratitude.
Well, thank you for sharing that peace and ability with, and that space for the people, because, when we all show up and do that, it makes a big difference in the world.
Sure does. It's what we're here for, right?
I am grateful I live in a beautiful place. Local listeners may know Shelburne Falls, but we have this amazing river just a few minutes from our house where we get to, it's almost like ocean tide pools, but it's like river pools.
Whoa.
Play in the river, and there's deep water for kids, big kids to swim, and all these pools and rocks, and just
you're talking about the potholes, right?
Potholes were
it's not that
a lot of years ago.
Really?
Yeah, and there's a few places we have on the river, on the Deerfield, that are just lovely. So I'm super grateful and I've been taking the kids, which means stepping away from work at home mom and just being with the river and just really, really sucking it up and making memories and enjoying this beautiful place that we live. So I am so incredibly grateful to live where I live.
Yeah. It's awesome.
So that feels good. Now I want to go to the river.
I might be willing to make the drive up to go to the river.
Yeah, you should. You totally should. Let's talk about where you are at in your life these days, Terra, because, we spend a lot of time together, and some of our listeners might even assume that we know each other so well that, we totally get what's going on, but we don't know the ins and outs of each of our business worlds so much. We have the things that we connect on and the things that we don't. So I'm really excited to actually hear some more of the nitty-gritty about where your life is at right now in terms of life coaching work and what I've had some experience receiving work from you that's just amazing. Aww. I want you to tell us where you're at in your journey as an entrepreneur today.
Okay, cool. I can do that. So, and I like that you sort of narrowed my focus a little bit to helping bring everyone up to speed on my life coaching work, because that is and has been a big part of my business identity for probably, I think I got certified as a life coach 7-ish years ago, maybe 8 now. And it's definitely taken a lot of different focuses over the years because I've been a lifelong entrepreneur. I'm on the down slope to 40 now, and I love it. And I've been an entrepreneur exclusively since I was in my very early 20s, 23. But most of my entrepreneurial experience is in a really traditional service-based, regionally focused
Mm-hmm.
business. And then I launched another business over a decade into that was, around supporting working parents who also operated traditional businesses, or
Mm-hmm.
really any kind of business. But I still have and still co-own my traditional business, which is eco-friendly cleaning, with my husband. And we have many employees. Over the years, it's ranged from, the 10 or 11 that we have now, upwards of 25. So it's my bread and butter, and it's what gives me a lot of my entrepreneurship experience, because in the beginning years of coaching, you're kind of a solopreneur. You don't have a lot of the layers of experience, like hiring, firing, managing multiple employees, human resources. It's an entirely different kind of sales. So it's a completely different category. But I feel like I've always used my life coaching skills primarily in self-coaching myself to be more successful in
Yeah,
that entrepreneurship venture, or any of them, because I learned so many things, and yes, they're powerful things to like help coach other people into learning, or
mm-hmm.
utilizing or seeing things through a different perspective. But my work with coaching has always been that I am the biggest asset to my business, and the more I can leverage my own skill set and my own amazing qualities, the more successful everything I do will be. Yeah. So, and that's partly what.
Like, let's
Sorry,
just
go ahead.
repeat that
Yeah,
again.
go ahead.
I am the biggest asset to my business. This is
Yes,
so important. It's so
so important. And the more to follow that up, the more you can develop yourself as that asset, the more you bring to the table, and the more successful everything you do will be.
and that
Because I'm
goes
all
for,
about leverage.
it goes for any kind of business,
Oh,
really.
absolutely.
Just like,
Absolutely.
but how often is that overlooked with all the workings of operating a business? You forget and you set yourself aside. And this actually just came up for me this morning, like, how important it is to invest in ourselves, because we are the biggest asset in our
Mhm.
business.
Yeah, and it's kind of a general understood rule that it's very unlikely that the success of your business will ever outpace your personal development.
Yes.
Your
Yeah.
business can't
So
be better
important.
than you when you are the backbone of your business.
Yeah. And I want to say, for listeners who are not business owners or entrepreneurs in any way, the same exact principle applies to being a mom, being a
Oh,
friend, being
absolutely.
a community member. It's like, yeah, investing in ourselves and our own growth and our own development and our own self-care and resources is so important. So I took a little side note because I just loved the way you said that. I am
No problem.
the asset to my business.
Yes, indeed.
I love it. I love it. Thank you for going there. Okay, let's get back on track. So where you're at with your life coaching work right now, where are you at?
Yeah. So, like I said, it's taken lots of different twists and turns, and has evolved with me as a person, because I've always been most attracted to this work by being a student with my student. Is
Mm-hmm.
sort of, it's a very collaborative experience,
Yeah.
with me as a coach. So it's always been shaped by what I most need in my life. That's what I'm most attracted to collaborating with people on.
Yeah.
So it went from very strong, ambitious entrepreneurship business coaching, like a very business slanted life coaching,
Yeah.
to parenting as soon as I became a parent.
Right. Right.
um, and then somewhere in that area, I started doing a ton of work with archetypes. It was one of my most early um, modalities that I used in the coaching, because it was, I get so turned on when I start learning about the different archetypes, and how they influence the way that not only we perceive what's going on, but how the world perceives us. And once I actually started using it kind of as like an art, and changing the actual language that I was using in all of my marketing, and changing what the elements, what the aspects of my personality was that I was embracing, I started getting totally more the right clients. So I fell in love with the science of it. And it's also a really easy barrier to entry for people because we all like to know more about ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's so much easier to approach personal growth from the place of questioning and learning than tasks and action.
Yeah.
So, but then as soon as you start realizing that you can actually play with these and start embracing them and make a very dramatic difference in the difficulty that you're experiencing, things get easier. They start feeling more authentic. It was really, really fascinating. So I started using a lot of that in my work, and that led me to the elements, the 5 elements, and a resurrection of that. Yeah. So now my coaching is, I don't even have any private clients right now, and my group program will be launching again in a couple of months.
Yeah.
But I took some time off from the physical coaching because I've been really in this receptive place that, instead of because I'm so collaborative when I'm in a coaching relationship, I was feeling very stagnant with some things that were in me that really wanted to be born. And also older projects that really needed to be wrapped up so that I could be back in the space to give in that direction properly.
Yeah.
So right now, my coaching business actually more looks like writing my book and really producing content that's not geared toward an individual, but geared towards sharing, my ideas and sharing sort of this larger framework of what I work with, which is these archetypes and elements. So I still do a fair amount of workshops here in the area, but I haven't taken on any coaching clients in a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, oh my gosh, I have so many questions.
Shoot, we can do 20 question style if you want.
You have a book with a very specific topic.
Yes.
You may or may not want to share that yet with the listeners, but I actually think maybe we did touch on it super quickly in a different episode. But does it include the archetypes and the elements? Or is that woven into this book, or is it a complete offshoot? Nothing's a complete offshoot.
Yeah. I would. It's not either of those choices.
Yeah.
But it's definitely going to be interwoven conceptually, but probably not named because I don't want to feel obligated to educate people of the background that you need for it to make sense. But of course, so many of the lessons come through that lens of knowing myself and analyzing my personality in that way, and also knowing why some of these became truths for me. And why others didn't, my strengths and also my challenges tie directly to the archetypes and the elements. And I've been working with the elements. I've known about the elements much, much longer than the archetypes, but I wasn't using them in my business until I discovered a book a couple of years ago that put everything that I had been wanting to work with into really usable language. So I
feel like you've told me about it.
Yep, it's actually called The 5 Elements. It's by Don B. Dolan, and she does just a masterful job of making it so simple. But I was originally introduced to them when I was in high school and taking Chinese, and my Chinese teacher was very much into traditional Chinese medicine and feng shui, and I did a extra credit independent study program about the 5 elements and their role in traditional Chinese culture. And I totally fell in love with it. And then she kind of translated all of the 5 elements directly into relationships and personality types. And since I had already been working so much with the archetype personality system, it brought everything together for me, because the elements are like the nature side of our personality. It's the pieces of your personality that you recognize in your children when they're 3 years old. They never change. That it's who they are. But then the archetypes are really fun because it's kind of like the clothes that we get to put on that nature, and they can totally shift and evolve and change, and maybe when you were younger, you really lived into certain archetypes and those shifted as the needs of your life changed. And
nice
then
combination of that.
yeah, it's really, really cool. It's really cool. So it's like the inner and outer dynamic, that juxtaposition that I love so much. And how do they work together? How do they sometimes compete? How are you getting in your own way and you don't even see it? You know, 'cause you have a blinder toward it, but it's such fun. It's such fun and very transformative.
So you said that a lot of your life coaching experience has turned into self-coaching. How, I mean, I agree 100% personally. How has your life coaching, how have your life coaching skills in this work with the archetypes and the elements influenced you as a writer? Like,
yes, absolutely. So this is how it all connects for me. When you said, you know, do the elements have anything to do with your book? And no, they're not directly in there, but I think it's me diving into these aspects of my personality and me being willing to like shine a light in these really dark, scary, sometimes very ugly places. And seeing like, is this actually true for me? Or was I just told that this was true and I never questioned it?
right.
And I was listening to another podcast a couple months ago, and it was about this young man's journey, you know, out of a cult and into finding himself. And he stated this comment that I had never heard before. It was just so amazing. And the comment was, there are no answers that cannot be questioned.
Ooh.
And that is why I'm writing this book, because I mean, just for those who don't know, or maybe who didn't hear the little mention that I made of it an episode or two back, the book is called Undomesticated Daughters. And the premise is basically, what are all of the truths that I have to question in my own life? What have I always known to be true that I have to question because I can no longer stand the idea of convincing my daughter that they are true. You know, and that
and you
is
wrote something in social media, maybe Instagram yesterday, and I went to tell you a story I heard and didn't, you know, got distracted, but I just want to say quickly how important this book is, and this experience I had at the dentist office yesterday. I was with a mom and her 2-year-old, I'm guessing 2-year-old, little girl. They were so sweet together. They were so loving. They were just like really just lovely. It was nice to watch, you know, when you're just like watching someone's experience, and it's just lovely. And then we're leaving the dentist, and the little girl's freaking out because she doesn't want to leave the toys, right? Like, who wants to leave fun toys that aren't yours? Freaking out. She's screaming all the way to the car. And I'm walking out with my kids, and the mother says, do you see any other kids acting this way? And that like it breaks my heart. She said, you should be embarrassed. And I like, it just, everything in me was just like, gosh.
Yeah.
Those are the kinds of things that we are taught, whether by our very loving parents. This was not a bad mom. This mom was not like,
and we're not pointing this out in judgment, because we've all had these moments because we've been conditioned for our entire lives that this is the reality.
Yes. I mean, I make these mistakes all the time. But it was such a good example to me of the things that we're taught for whatever reason. And then we have to choose to question at some point, or we live with that story. And that story is not a story we want to live with.
Unfortunately, we've actually been conditioned not to question many of these. And it's like, that's the first time that you end up taking that blue pill or that red pill or whatever from, you know, like 90s reference to the Matrix movie. Like when you first take the pill that removes the blinders, that, whoa, I think I need to question all of this now.
Maybe
and my gosh, does it blow you open? What?
Maybe I don't have to be embarrassed when I feel emotion.
Yeah.
Like, whoa. I've been living my entire life feeling shame when I have an emotion. You know, a strong emotion.
That's exactly what my Instagram post was about yesterday.
That's why I was like, I wanted to tell you this story. And it's
so true. And I mean, many of these, like the book is kind of half memoir and, half just well, actually, I guess maybe it's entirely memoir. It is a memoir of my journey of asking these questions.
Yeah.
And most of them are because, something came out of my mouth or something came into my head that was like, whoa, that's not who I am as a mother.
Yeah.
But that is who I am as a woman. And why is there a disconnect that,
Right.
why am I not questioning this aspect of myself as a woman that I don't want for my daughter?
Yeah. This is such an important book. I cannot wait to read it. I'm so excited for you.
Oh, thank you.
I know you were really pumped. You were like in the writing groove. I don't know if you still are.
Yeah, I mean, it is coming in, fits and starts, but it is flowing out of me. It's finally completely clear as a being, as an entity, where I've been working on it for several years. I mean, it's been a project that's been in the works since before I even had a child. I had the idea of like questioning some of these,
lies,
just unquestioned truths. Yeah. And I mean, yeah, the thing is, like, they're not lies. They've been true for a very long time. They're just not the truth I want to pass on.
Yeah.
And with no, with no judgment to wherever I got them, because some of them I was taught and some of them I chose because it seemed like what I was supposed to choose. No one actively taught me that thing, I just made an assumption that seemed to hold.
Right.
when we're young.
Well, that's interesting because we drove away from the dentist's office and it was probably about 3 or 4 minutes. And the whole time I'm questioning, do I address this with my kids or not? And I was like, you have to. What if they heard that and just came up with their own story based on this thing that another mother said?
Yep.
And so I absolutely had to, not with lecturing intention, but just like, I just wanted to bring it up. Like it, I don't know if you heard that, but you always have room to feel your feelings. So it was just this, but yes, sometimes the stories come from places we never, really unsuspecting places, like overhearing it in the parking lot when you're 4, my 4-year-old hearing that and going, wait, another mom said. Yeah. And we don't always know. So as a parent, we certainly can't be hard on ourselves for the things we say or the things our kids are exposed to. If we teach them to question,
exactly, then
they never get stuck. Well, it's not true. When they can see how to get out of the stories that they get stuck in.
Yeah, exactly. If we develop in them a love of that question and like a freedom to question, because even, I have no idea. There's bound to be times where I try to teach Aria something that I think will serve her, but I can't predict exactly who she's going to be. I don't know if that's going to backfire and serve and cripple her in some way.
I know.
So I feel like we get back to one of my, favorite episode topics, and that was the empower or protect. Yes, it's our responsibility to rear our children in the best way that we can envision.
Yeah.
But if we don't teach them that they also have power over shaping their own lives and choices and truths, then we have disempowered them.
Yep.
So I try to think of it from the perspective of let's offer her something that I think is going to be beneficial to her, with the caveat that it's still up to her to choose it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're just creating toolboxes for our kids.
Yep, exactly.
And I teach my kids to question me, because that's, don't count on me for everything. Question me, ask me. If you don't like a rule that I've made, like, let's talk about it. You don't have
your experience of life should be negotiable.
Yeah.
We have that glorious freedom here in the lives that we live.
Yeah. So we should, I don't want to wrap up soon, but we should. But I do want to go back to, I asked you how your life coaching / self-coaching, the same thing, but influences you as a writer. And I wanted to bring that up because there are people out there who are artists or who are teachers or who are, employees of some sort. And I love being able to point out that you can use your own life coaching schools, your own life coaching skills to allow you to be a better writer. And that is the power of life coaching. When you find the right coach with the right modalities and the right tools, they do help you make the most of your passion for teaching, make the most of your passion for art, make the most of your passion for writing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
so I love how you're just using like that example, so obvious in what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, in a very concrete way, I allow my natural way of being productive to take the lead on this book, which is why it has taken me several years. And I've like every time that I sit down and tried to force myself to make something come out, it just didn't work at all.
Yeah, right.
But now, like, I know my elements and I know that I'm wood, which is extremely action and growth oriented. And when I'm in the zone, I can accomplish, I'm like a freight train
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
of productivity. And my fire, which means I basically got to live in the party pretty much all the time. And if it doesn't feel good, if it doesn't make me happy, it ain't going to happen.
Right.
So I know when I'm in the space of like, oh, this productivity and this push actually feels really awesome right now. Let's dive in. And now this is when I get to do the work.
Yeah.
And it just so happens that like right now, the last few weeks and months, I'm in that zone.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
now is when I'm going to write. And if that goes away, I'm not going to force myself to do that anymore.
Yeah.
You know? So
Yeah.
like it's kind and it working with these elements, it has lent me so much compassion for myself and for the way that I interact with the world around me and the people around me based on their elements. And so that's, I think, my favorite thing about the elements is just this immense compassion that I never had before because I was always trying to be what I'm supposed to be, you know? And now I get to really embrace who I actually am with no pressure to be something else. And I was never able to do that before this science and this work.
Beautiful.
So it's very cool.
So
I can't wait to talk about that at the summit.
I know. I cannot wait. I'm going to have like a full notebook ready for Tara's talk at the summit.
It is so fun.
So I know you said you don't have one-on-one clients right now, but you do maybe have some workshops. If someone was really curious about, because we just scratched, like, I mean, like we didn't even scratch the surface of
we didn't even scratch the
So if someone wanted to learn more about archetypes and elements through you, how would they do that? Where would they go?
Yeah, well, they can watch my website. I mean, I'm not doing one in July, but I will have another one in August of the Archetype and Elements workshop.
Okay.
And my team and I are in the process of putting an Elements workshop online. So
Nice.
people will be able to actually explore some of that, in a more self-guided. I'll probably do a couple webinars too, just to, like see how it flows online.
Awesome.
But that should be available in like the September timeframe. So by the time this airs, it will be very, very soon. But just check out the website, allin.life.
Allin.life.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anything else you want to share with listeners before we go here? Or
No, just that I have actually loved some of the interaction that I've been getting with people on my Instagram. And like I said, I've been in this really like content production, reflective space. So I've been doing a lot of activity on, like Facebook and Instagram. And if you aren't connected with me already, please come connect with me because so much of my elements are about community and connecting. So
beautiful.
that
So
is
is
how
that
you
your
can pay me
ask?
back. Yes, indeed.
Awesome.
Connect with me. Let me know you exist and that you're listening.
Yeah, that's great. I'm going to say that my ask is that I'm just always curious who has worked with a life coach, why or why not? What were the things that you took away? Have you worked with therapists and life coaches? Like I'm just curious what people's stories are around life coaching. Because I think it's such a powerful tool. And it's something that a lot of people don't tap into. So I love talking to people who are curious about tapping in, and then of course people who have already tapped in. And you know, what did you take away? Why did you say yes? How amazing, you know, what was it that that allowed you to step into this work? I'm always curious about that.
Yeah, I love those stories too. As someone who has utilized many coaches over the years and for many different things.
Yeah.
It's quite a journey.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Terra.
Thank you,
I'm
Amanda.
excited to listen to this episode. And I'm really excited to hear from you at the summit.
I can't wait.
And to share your workshops and your resources that are coming out. So
thank you so much. Me too.
Have a great day.
Thanks, you too.